let's begin with President Biden. President Biden officially announcing his reelection campaign. The president already has support from many prominent Democrats, but there are challenges ahead. Mr. Biden announced his campaign in a video message earlier this morning. Listen.
Every generation of Americans has faced a moment when they have to defend democracy. Stand up for our personal freedom. Stand up for the right to vote and our civil rights. And this is our moment.
Weijia Jiang is at the White House with more on this. Weijia, I know you were up late into the morning waiting for this announcement. Good morning.
Good morning, Vlad and Anne-Marie, and good morning to everybody. Yeah, this timing of the announcement was no accident because we know that President Joe Biden is a very sentimental person, and today marks exactly 4 years since back in 2019, he announced that he was going to run for president back then. Of course, now things are different because he has a record to run on. And that also means, though, that he has to answer to some campaign promises that have not yet been fulfilled. So there's a lot going on. This is not exactly a surprise, but before he said he had always intended to run, now it's official.
This is not a time to be complacent. That's why I'm running for re-election.
In a pre-taped video message Tuesday, President Biden officially launched his 2024 presidential re-election campaign.
When I ran for president 4 years ago, I said we're in a battle for the soul of America, and we still are. The question we're facing is whether in the years ahead we have more freedom or less freedom, more rights or fewer. I know what I want the answer to be, and I think you do too.
President Biden remains focused on the big issues likely to shape the 2024 race for the White House. Issues like gun violence, which he addressed during a meeting Monday with 3 Tennessee Democratic lawmakers, 2 of whom were kicked out of office for a time for protesting on the floor of their state house. He also slammed Republicans for meddling in schools.
I never thought I'd be a president who was fighting against elected officials trying to banning books. Empty shelves don't help kids learn very much.
Their body, their choice! And continues the battle cry for the protection of a woman's reproductive rights. Ahead of the re-election announcement, a CBS News poll found Democrats accept Biden's re-election bid, but aren't necessarily excited about it. And still, nearly half of Democrats don't want the 80-year-old to run, and they cite his age as the reason.
When you're thinking about running for the presidency, it's less about the polling and it's more about, is the environment rich for me?
CBS News political contributor Ashley Etienne says the timing also has to do with drawing a contrast with the current GOP frontrunner, former President Donald Trump.
The environment is really rich for this announcement with Donald Trump's back against the wall with the indictment out of New York and facing prosecution from Georgia all the way to New York State.
Even with Trump gaining a big endorsement Monday from Montana Senator Steve Daines, who chairs the Senate Republicans' campaign arm, Biden's announcement shows confidence that he thinks he can win in 2024.
Let's finish this job. I know we can.
And following that video announcement this morning, President Biden is going to be giving a speech about what will likely be a big campaign pitch, and that is American jobs. He'll focus on bringing back manufacturing and rebuilding the middle class, which he has been talking about really since he took office. Vlad and Anne-Marie?
So, Weijia, yes, we know that, there are Democrats that are concerned about his age, but CBS News also polled Democrats who support a re-election. Why do they support the president running again? What have we learned?
Well, the number one top reason among those Democrats, 89% say it's because his performance as president. 83% say that he can defeat Trump. 79% say it's his personal qualities, and 75% say that he can defeat most Republicans. But this is a really important asterisk, Anne-Marie. This is among Democrats and Democratic leaners who think he should run again. But the majority of Democrats do not think he should run again. He needs a wingman. I'm sorry, I had to do that. He needs A wingman, according to the polls, because they're dire. I mean, for a sitting president who has so much to tout, according to the White House,
right,
who has so many victories, the numbers just aren't there to support that. But the White House and the president have long said they're just polls. We don't really pay attention to them, and we're going to focus on the race.
Well, it's too bad he doesn't need a date, because apparently Vlad is an excellent wingman if you're looking
Allegedly.
for a date. So he says. In the meantime, as you point out, now he's not just candidate Biden, he's candidate / President Biden. So obviously there's going to be a different strategy moving forward. What can we expect?
Well, we don't know exactly what the campaign trail is going to look like for President Biden, right? Because as we saw this morning, he decided to launch a video message instead of holding a big campaign rally that one might expect to make such a big announcement. But we know that he now has a lot that he can run on. He has passed major pieces of legislation, everything from the COVID relief package to the infrastructure package to the Inflation Reduction Act, all those signed into law. He says he wants to give people more breathing room, and this is something that he's been committed to since the very beginning. The problem is whether that is translating or not. So he's going to have to find a way to, convince Americans that that is what he's doing, that even though they might not be feeling all the impact now, that they should let him, quote, finish the job. That phrase is a key part of the strategy, of the messaging here. And you might remember that he actually first tested it out during the State of the Union address back in February. He said, finish the job at least 12 times. And even back then, it sounded like a campaign message. And sure enough, now that is his campaign message. So he's going to really have to push that message to try to get people on board.
And then what about the voters, both Democrat and other, Republicans and others? How is the White House responding to the concerns about his age?
Well, they're not really. I mean, they have long said that it's unfair to criticize the president based on his age. You should judge him rather for everything that he has done, and in fact have started to say that it could be an asset for him because he has decades of experience, which is actually confirmed by our new poll, right? That shows the #1 reason why people do support him, if they do, is because his performance as president, which is tacked onto his performance as a U.S. Senator for so many years. And so they claim that they're not worried about it. But there's another factor here. It's not just the age, it's the performance in terms of campaigning, which makes a big difference. So one outstanding question is how much he's actually going to hit the trail and meet with voters and see him in person instead of these video messages like we saw this morning.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Weijia, thank you very much.
Sure.